hectic. I've been shot 7 times. I've been shot 6 times by Rollin 60s.
My first thought was is he dead? The only news I got was that he was shot, you know.
I was set up by 3 girls. They came and got me, took me up to the surplus on Western, man. Under the auspices of them buying some sweatshirts or something.
Back in the day, Monster Kody built his name as one of the most feared men out of South Central, terrorizing anyone who crossed his path. But when the tables turned, the Rollin 60s Crips didn't flinch. They showed him a whole new level of ruthlessness.
Well, how much money I got, or whatever. Dude shot me 6 times, killed 20 of my homies. I knew. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with.
Back then, the alliance between the Rollin 60s and the 8 Trey gangsters had completely fallen apart, and the streets were on fire. Everywhere you turned, there was bloodshed. Right in the heart of all that chaos was Monster. To him, it was personal. If he spotted a Rollin 60 from a distance, it was instantly on sight. No questions, no hesitation. But even with all that rage in his chest, nothing rocked his world like what came next. See, the Rollin 60s weren't reckless. They were calculated with their hits, known for watching and waiting before making a move. So the day Kody let his guard down, it turned ugly fast. Everything went left. One moment he was moving through the neighborhood, and the next, he was fighting for his life.
Turn around, try to run, he shoots me in the back. The bullet that hits me in the back knocks me down on my face, and I'm dazed. So now I'm getting up on my knees, and the guy kicks me in the stomach, kicks me over.
From early on, Monster had already stamped his name in the streets. He jumped into the 8 Trays at just 11, locking himself into a life that didn't promise much but chaos. By 14, he was already knee-deep, connected to murders, catching cases, earning stripes the hard way. But how does this story really unfold? Let's get into it. If you know the history, then you know the alliance between the 8 Trays and the Rollin 60s fell apart around 1979, right after the killing of a dude named Tyrone Hardiman. Tyrone wasn't just anybody. He was the brother of Big Rick, who at the time was one of the most influential figures in the Rollin 60s. After Tyrone got killed, things got real ugly between both sides. Tensions shot through the roof.
That infamous night, infamous day that happened, that was on March 3rd. That was March 3rd, 1979. Tyrone got killed.
At first, there were just a few killings here and there, but the whole story flipped the moment Kody Scott, aka Monster, stepped into the picture. Now for some background. When Tyrone was killed, Kody was actually locked up, doing time for shooting at a fast food worker. He ended up doing around 9 months. But when he got out, it was like the whole landscape had shifted. And Kody, he didn't waste a second. He jumped right back into the streets and fully aligned with his crew. From there, it was go time. Summer of 1980. Monster's mom asked him to walk with her to the store. She liked shopping at this place called Buddha Market, deep in Rollin 60s territory. And sure enough, while they were out there, Monster ran into a 60s member, and boom, shootout right outside the store. He ended up catching a case for that, but he beat it in court. Then on July 8th, 1980, his girl had just given birth to his first kid. He was on his way to the hospital when he passed through 60s turf and spotted a guy known as Bank Robber, a known 60s member. Without even thinking twice, Monster pulled the trigger, shot him multiple times, then drove off like nothing happened. By then, Monster said the war was already in full swing. 8 Trays had lost about 5 people, and the 60s had lost around 8. This wasn't just a street beef anymore, this was real war. At one point, the 60s even kidnapped an 8 Tray member's sister, held her for 3 days. What they did to her was sick, beyond messed up. That single act triggered a whole new level of retaliation. Some of the 8 Tray homies were out for blood, and not just any kind. They were hunting for top 60s members, but they couldn't find them. So instead, they grabbed another 60s member, went all out, chopped him up, and even kept his arms as trophies. Pure savagery.
Monster Kody did an interview, and he said that he brought somebody's arm.
You mean to tell me that story is real?
Yes, that was Jay Blake's arm.
By the end of 1980, Monster got caught slipping, set up by 3 women and ambushed by the 60s. It was a calculated move. These women were used as bait, an old-school trick in gang warfare. Women could slide through different hoods without raising alarms, so they got used for setups like this all the time. These girls invited Kody to what seemed like a chill link-up, maybe a party or just a casual hang. Cody thought nothing of it, pulled up. But the 60s were already there, waiting. He got lit up, shot multiple times, but somehow he survived. While he was laid up in the hospital, he said he was having hallucinations, seeing the faces of everyone he'd shot over the years, plus his newborn daughter. He made it through, but it took weeks to recover. But the drama didn't end there. Cody's little brother Kershawn, Lil Monster, wasn't having it. Thought his big bro was gonna die, and he wasn't about to let that slide. Dude got strapped up quick, no long talk, just action. That same energy led him to his first body.
I felt the loss that I might lose my brother. You know, I felt empty. As the night progressed along, I think I was overcome with revenge.
New Year's Day 1981. Kershawn and a few young 8-trays went wild, hit a party in 60s territory. Kershawn shot 2 teens there. Later that same day, they did a drive-by and killed another teen.
They knew retaliation would be swift. But with it being a holiday, January 1st, 1981, we knew that we would eventually catch somebody out. And we did, we ate him up. I hung out the window first.
Eventually, he got caught and was sentenced to 5 years in juvie for murder. And while Cody was still in recovery, the same crew that tried to kill him came back to finish the job. This time, a nurse stepped in, literally saved his life. One name that kept popping up around that time was Fred Hill. Fred was a respected shot caller for the 60s, and word on the street was that he was the one who actually shot Cody that night 6 times. Even Cody himself pointed him out. Not long after, Fred got arrested and hit with a first-degree murder charge. Another person who was suspected was another Rollin 60s guy named the Pretty Boy. Word was that Pretty Boy was the one who actually set everything up. In fact, he even volunteered his car for the attack. When Cody got out, he didn't slow down. Not even a little. He went straight back to hitting Rollin 60s targets. No hesitation, no second guessing, just back on go mode. But the real question is, how did Monster Cody become the person he turned into? Cody DeJohn Scott, better known as Monster Cody, was born on November 13, 1963 in Los Angeles. His parents, Ernest Scott and Bertie Canada, were originally from Houston, Texas. Cody was the 5th out of 6 kids growing up with 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Now, Cody always believed there was a chance his real father might have been Dick Bass, the former Los Angeles Rams running back. He suspected his mom might have had an affair with him, but there's no actual proof. Whether true or not, his supposed father, Ernest, held a heavy grudge against Bertie over the rumor. And Cody, he paid the price for it. Ernest regularly abused Bertie, right in front of the kids, and Cody got the worst of it. He was constantly singled out, beaten, and emotionally shut out. Ernest clearly favored the kids he believed were biologically his. He'd take them to the movies, restaurants, even back to Houston to visit family. But Cody left behind, every time, on purpose. By 1970, Bertie had enough and divorced Ernest. But even after the split, Ernest still came around on weekends and still made it clear he had no love for Cody. In 1972, Bertie moved the family into a spot near 69th Street and Denker Avenue, right in the heart of South Central LA, a neighborhood already heavy with gang activity. She was working multiple jobs just to keep the family afloat, so she was barely home. Cody, feeling left out by both parents, started spending more and more time outside, looking for a sense of belonging. And that's when he started hanging around a neighbor named Stanley Tookie Williams, none other than the co-founder of the Crips. In Blue Rage, Black Redemption, Tookie wrote about how young Cody would always be hanging around the set, watching them lift weights, smoke PCP, and brag about shootouts like it was nothing. Cody soaked it all in.
And at that age, it's very easy to feel powerless because a lot of us are powerless. So we join gangs, as I did, for the power. To be able to say, this is my crew, this is my posse, these are my homeboys.
Years later, Tookie said he regretted that influence. He knew Cody was watching, absorbing everything like a sponge. He even blamed himself for introducing the kid to gang life and drugs, especially PCP, which would later become one of Cody's biggest addictions. After that early gang war, Cody ended up getting locked up again. But this time, prison did something to him. Despite dropping out of high school, Cody started diving deep into books. He started educating himself, reading about Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, and revolutionary movements that challenged everything he'd grown up believing. He started building with members of the Republic of New Africa, and their ideas really got to him. It stopped being just about gang sets and street beef. It became about purpose, about something bigger. His shift continued during the 1992 LA riots, after the world watched Rodney King get brutally beaten by LAPD. When the city erupted, Cody was right there in it, standing with his people, protesting a system that had failed them over and over again. That stand got him locked up yet again. By 1993, Cody was in solitary at Pelican Bay State Prison, one of the roughest, most notorious prisons in California. But it was in that cold, quiet cell that he made a decision. He was going to write his story. And that's how Monster, the autobiography of an LA gang member, came to be. At the time, people outside the streets didn't really get gang culture. They just saw it from a distance, heard about the violence, the crime, the danger. But Cody's book peeled back the curtain and gave folks a raw, unfiltered look at what that life really looked like, what pushed young black kids into it, what kept them in it, and what it cost them.
This book is 383 pages of reality. I'm uniquely qualified to write 383 pages of life for this generation, and that's what I've done. It's 383 pages of gore, no doubt about that, but it's reality. It happens every day.
Back in the early 90s, Monster Cody, now going by Sanyika Shakur, linked up with Tupac Shakur. They didn't have a bunch of public moments, but one that stood out was a powerful 22-minute phone call on October 18, 1995. Both had just gotten out of prison, and the bond was instant. You could feel it.
Nigga, what's up? You got two, player.
Hey, I got the message you was trying to send, but they had me on the handle.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened, because they do that to me too when I was up in there.
During the call, Cody asked Pac to play him in a movie about his life, and Pac was down. They also talked about making music together. Pac even invited him to the studio. But what really hit was how much Pac respected Cody's story. He'd read Monster while locked up, and it stuck with him, especially a scene that flashed in his mind when someone once pulled a gun on him. It wasn't just a book to Pac, it was real.
When they pulled the pistols out, I swear on everything I love, first thing I thought about was reading in your book when you was talking about how you felt when them down on you.
Ain't that cold?
Exactly how I felt. The setup, the shit you was talking about, how you just look up and you like, boom.
Then came the heart of the convo, change. Pac had this vision to build up black communities through youth sports leagues, with rappers funding teams, churches selling food, and locals handling security. It was about unity and positive energy. He also wanted block parties with big artists, not just for fun, but to bring people together and turn that momentum into real political action, including voter registration and pushing mayors for change.
Power. And then when we do that, we register the voters. And if we can register them for Democrats, Republican, or Independent, we start going up to the mayors of these cities and telling them, look, we got this many voters in this city. We want you to do this. We want a community center. We start hitting up Nike for the free clothes, the computer stores for the free computers for each community center.
Pac even planned to work with street leaders to create safe hours with no violence, so kids could clean the streets without fear. It was a bold plan, and he wanted Cody right there with him. His thinking was simple but deep. Give the community safe zones and safe times, and on top of that, he wanted politicians to make sure the cops weren't harassing folks during those peaceful hours. What Tupac was dreaming up wasn't some short-term fix. It was a full-on strategy to take the power back. And Cody, he was all the way in. He believed in Pac's vision and was ready to move with him.
You know, I'm with all that, Pac. You know, anytime, anything I can do, brother. You know, that's what I'm about, man. I've always been less of a talker, more of a doer.
During that same call, they even talked about writing a book about Tupac's life. Cody was down, and Pac was already trying to put something together. Pac called Monster a classic, but Cody told him straight up, your story's gonna be even bigger. And looking back, he wasn't wrong. They also talked about the Quad Studios shooting, that infamous moment that changed Pac's whole trajectory. Before that, he was all about unity and revolution. Afterward, he felt betrayed and started leaning more into the street life. Cody warned him to keep his circle tight, said he only trusted a few people. Knowing how everything played out, those words hit even harder now. After Tupac was killed, Cody didn't buy the official story. He immediately had questions. Why wasn't Pac wearing a vest? Why did it seem like a targeted hit? Why only Pac got shot, not Suge? And with rumors that Pac was planning to leave death row, Cody couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He even tried doing his own digging to get to the bottom of it. Later, he ended up running into Suge in prison. Suge reached out to him talking about the bond he shared with Tupac, but that didn't really change how Cody felt. he never fully trusted the official version of what happened that night. Cody and Tupac never got the chance to finish that book together, but Cody kept pushing, turning his life from gangbanging to storytelling and activism. He used his journey to teach, to warn, and to show others that it was possible to evolve, even after living through the darkest chapters. Cody's later years weren't quiet. Far from it. They were just as intense as his younger days, but in a whole different way. Even while trying to flip his life around, trouble still seemed to trail him like a shadow. In 2007, he got hit with some serious accusations, breaking into someone's home, assaulting them, and trying to take off with their car. On top of that, he was already on LA's most wanted gang members list for violating parole. And with California's tough 3 strikes law hanging over his head, another major conviction would have meant life in prison. That case was a crossroads. If it didn't swing his way, he was basically looking at never walking free again. In 2008, Cody pled no contest to carjacking and robbery charges. Instead of a life sentence, he got 6 years in state prison. But while he was locked up again, something shifted. He'd already laid out his life story in Monster, but now he wanted to try something new, fiction. That's when he wrote his first novel, Thug Life. It was still about street life, still raw and real, but this time he was using fiction as a new way to deliver the message. And he didn't stop there. In 2013, he dropped Stand Up, Struggle Forward, New African Revolutionary Writings on Nation, Class, and Patriarchy. This one went deeper. It wasn't just about gangs or survival. It was about systems, politics, race, and the forces that shaped him, and so many others. Cody wasn't just telling stories anymore, he was unpacking why the world looked the way it did. Before he passed, he was working on yet another book and was even in talks with a streaming platform to turn his life into a podcast. One of the wildest parts, he was teaming up with someone he once saw as an enemy, Leo Pretty Boy Smith, a former rival from the Rollin 60s Crips. Both of them had come up in the same area, but they were on opposite sides of one of the most heated Crip rivalries, 8 Trey gangsters versus Rollin 60s. They'd been at war for years, trapped in the cycle that defined so much of LA's gang culture. But after Monster came out, something changed. Smith, like a lot of people, didn't just read it as Cody's story. It hit him as a reality check. Eventually, they squashed the beef and started working together. That move alone said a lot about how far Cody had come.
Me and Monster, we did a lot of little juvenile stuff together. We used to take things, take bites, and everything. When everything got bad, yeah, we went at it.
One of the key people who helped bring Cody's story to the public eye was Leon Bing, a former fashion model who became a journalist. She wrote Do or Die, a deep dive into LA's gang world, and Cody was one of the central figures in it. Her work helped shine a light on his story outside of the streets. Bing saw sides of Cody that most people didn't. She remembered organizing a toy drive at a hospital while he was still behind bars. Just another example of him trying to give back even when his hands were tied. She always described him as smart, thoughtful, and crazy well-read. But because of who he used to be, people often missed that. They were too focused on the legend, the myth, the fear. And then, just like that, it was over. On June 7th, 2021, Cody was found dead in a tent near the San Luis River Trail in Oceanside, California. His wife, Tamu, was the one who found him. Authorities said his body had been there for a while. It was badly decomposed when they discovered it. No foul play was suspected, and the official cause pointed to natural causes.
Pour out some liquor for the who ain't here. I miss all my homies and every day I hold back.
It was a quiet, lonely ending for a man whose life had been anything but quiet. But even in his last chapter, Cody's story still mattered, because it was never just about him. It was about change, growth, and what it really takes to break free from the cycle.